Hi, I'm John, and welcome to The Business of Being a Postgrad, the podcast where we share real stories, experiences, and insights from postgraduate students here at Durham University Business School. Each episode features a current postgraduate student sharing their journey, experiences, and insights during their time here at Durham. In this episode, I'm joined by Zoya, an MSc Management entrepreneurship student from Pakistan. Zoya discusses her journey to Durham, developing an entrepreneurial mindset, and putting theory into practice during the program's international study trip to Barcelona. Let's start by talking about life, exploring your background, your journey to Durham, and your experience so far. Hi Zoya, thank you for joining us today on The Business of Being a Postgrad. If you could just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you're studying and where you come from.
So my name is Zoya Medina. So I did my undergrad from LUMS in Pakistan, and I studied economics and political science, after which I worked for about 3.5 years, and I was mainly working at Reckitt, where I started as a sales trainee, and then I kind of progressed through the company. I did a couple of different things. So I started in sales, and then I moved into e-commerce, where I was initially a business development manager. And then I moved into the world of digital marketing, which was by far the most exciting for me. And I was looking at user experience, and I was looking at campaign management. And then I think a little bit after that is when I decided that I wanted to do my postgrad, and that kind of started the journey of where do I want to study for my master's, what do I want to study for my master's, and yeah, that's then now I'm here.
And you're studying?
I'm studying management and entrepreneurship at the business school.
What was the specific point that you decided, I want to get that master's? You're already doing quite well, it sounded like, in your professional...
So I think it was largely the decision that I kind of wanted to work for myself in the future. Mm-hmm. Not that I didn't love working at Reckitt. It was a great experience, but there was also that element of being able to control my own, it would be something that I would be very interested in because I have a lot of stakes in it. And also just having control over my own hours, having control over my life generally is what really appealed to me. So that led to me wanting to, open up my own business.
Were you always interested in studying in the UK?
That's an interesting question. So I did look at other places. I actually looked everywhere. So I looked at Europe, I looked at Australia, and I looked at the UK as well. And the UK actually wasn't making as much sense because I have family, for example, in the US, I have a lot of family. And in the UK, I just have my brother. So from that perspective, it wasn't set in stone. Mm-hmm. But I think what really appealed to me about the UK was firstly that, to be honest, that it was a 1-year program. So I could be done with the master's and I could get into working or starting my own business.
I think that makes sense, especially considering you were already working beforehand. You don't want to take too long out.
And I had taken quite a big gap. So I wasn't used to studying. And that was actually a big fear that I had, was that will it be really difficult for me to jump back into the research and writing papers and academic work? I wasn't used to it at all anymore. So that was a fear that I had. But, now that I'm here, I think I would have preferred for it to be 2 years. I can't believe it's almost over.
Just going back to that kind of decision-making point, what was it specific about Durham University Business School that ultimately brought you here?
So I will be honest, I did look at the rankings and everything, and it did make an impact. Durham was scoring quite high. It was amongst top 5 at the time. And other than that, I think, so it was Durham specifically also that really appealed to me because of the collegiate system, which I was like, if I'm going to the UK, I really want to be able to be a part of that experience. And I'm really glad that I made that decision because there's a lot about Durham that you wouldn't find in other than Oxbridge. You wouldn't find in any other school in the UK. And so I'm really
glad that the
collegiate system.
For anybody that's not familiar with the collegiate system, would you mind just maybe explaining from your experience what the collegiate system is here at Durham?
It's basically, so Durham has a number of colleges, and I'm in Euston College, which is the only postgrad college that Durham has. The experience that you get with that is that you have events and formal dinners and a lot of different things going on within your college. So you kind of have like a community there. And that's what kind of sets it apart, is that it has like that old school charm of the UK, I think. And then you also, I think one thing is that you really get to like meet people through it. I've made a lot of really close friends, and I think I wouldn't have made them like at my college.
Friends that maybe weren't studying at the business school as well?
That aren't studying at the business school. And that actually really increases your exposure as well. Like I have so many friends who are studying English literature and they're doing humanities. And then it's a very different perspective that they can bring into my life and into my work as well. That's definitely a huge, huge benefit that you get to meet a lot of people through. We have events every weekend just downstairs. So
you live at
I live
college.
in the college, right? So we have events not just on the weekends. We have GCP seminars, which is the Global Citizenship Program. And we have seminars every Wednesday. So you get to have like a little bit of like an academic talk. It's just an hour long, and it's a really great way to like just engage with the college. So I think that really sets it apart in a huge way.
Did the college system and you sort of kind of help you with that transition coming from Pakistan to the UK?
So, surprisingly, I didn't feel it that much, the transition. Like I thought it was going to be like a big culture shock, and I thought that it was going to be, but I think because the world is so global now, I already knew exactly what to expect, and I didn't really feel very, I was actually just having a really good time. I was meeting new people. And the college system definitely did make a huge impact because so when we first joined, there were events in the paddle, which is the college bar, every day for the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Oh, like during the orientation
period. Yeah. So I met so many people. I think I met almost everyone in that college. And I really got to know people, PhD students, master's students, and then people from different kinds of fields. It's a really great way to network. And it's also a really, really great way to just develop a really interesting friend circle. So
did you arrive quite early for term or?
I did. I arrived right at the start of the orientation week.
And you mentioned earlier that your brother's in the UK. Is he also studying or does he live in
He's also studying. He's actually also doing his master's at the University of Edinburgh.
Okay, so nice. Yeah. So not too far away. Did you know anybody else at all who'd studied at Durham or?
Not. I do know a couple of people who studied at Durham and have graduated, which was a huge help. And I would actually recommend that to people is that if you can find anyone like an alumni, the first person that I spoke to, I didn't even know. He had just been to the same university as me. So I reached out to him and I was like, can you tell me like a couple of things? And the alumni are so helpful. And I found that to be the case like in every instance so far.
And are you involved in any other societies at all?
So I do take part in the entrepreneurship, the venture lab that we have here. So I participated in the Game Changer Challenge there. I'm a huge fan of the venture lab because it really so for example, we had this one workshop where they kind of really took you through how to use AI to your advantage from the perspective of entrepreneurship. So how to create digital personas and just, ideation exercises through AI.
Sounds really interesting.
It was actually very, very interesting. And so even though I'm not the biggest fan of AI, I really enjoyed the different uses you can get out of it. And the Venture Lab does that a lot. So the Game Changer Challenge, for example, we actually spoke about it involved AI as well, and you had to come up with a use case where you're coming up with an idea. So it's really cool, especially my degree is management and entrepreneurship. So for me, it's a great way to kind of engage with other entrepreneurs.
I think we've had a few guests in the past seasons who have also been members.
In the Venture Lab.
Yeah. Sounds like there's always lots going on there and a great society to be a part of.
It's very active and they have a lot of challenges, which is great. So if you, for example, have a startup idea, I would really recommend it because you can go there and then they can help you hone it. And then there's also, you can win prize money. So that can actually help you really start your venture. Yeah.
And they're very active online as well. So you can see what they're up to on LinkedIn and things like that ahead of joining Durham as well and what kind of activities you've been involved in.
But apart from that, I'm not an active member in many societies. I did join a lot at the start and I will say Durham has everything. So anything you can think of. I really wanted to be a part of the archery society, but then I got a little bit scared. And they genuinely have everything. I'm a part of the Yoga and Pilates Society.
Mm-hmm. Is there a Pakistan society?
There is. And then it's not very active, but the Durham Indian Society is very active, and you can be a part of that as well. There's a Desi Society, which is both. So it's great. You can find everything.
Next up, let's talk about learning. The classes, experiences, and opportunities that have helped shape your time here at Durham. So earlier you were talking about your professional experience at Reckitt before you came to Durham. You were optimizing user experiences across e-commerce platforms and digital marketing campaigns. How has that experience helped you approach your studies?
I think it's made a huge difference. If I'm being honest, just having that background it gives you a lot of confidence as well. So for example, for presentations, I just, having that prior knowledge, it really, really helps me to kind of back up what I'm saying with real world examples. And I didn't expect it to actually be as big of a help as it has been. And funnily enough, it's also helped me kind of not take things too seriously, because I know at the end of the day, I'm here for my education. So I won't be too afraid to raise my hand and be like, this may be entirely wrong, but I'd like to offer up this suggestion or this idea. And often I am wrong. But it's I like that I'm able to not take it too seriously in that sense, where I'm able to offer up my ideas. I think that the work experience definitely, so I used to be very, very shy actually. And I think it's definitely helped me with that. And then also just with essay writing and stuff as well, I'll be able to offer up like my own experiences every now and then.
And you talked as well a little bit earlier about how that transition from industry back into academic might have been, you were a bit nervous about it.
Yeah.
How did that reality match up?
It was difficult at first, just because and it really depends from person to person, I would say, because so for me, I'm very application based. Like my learning is very, I'm very good with hands-on. A work environment actually supports that, where you're
very practical.
It's very practical, yeah. And then I think one thing about the UK, learning in the UK especially, is that, you do take a lot home and it's a lot of self-learning. So it was a bit difficult for me at the start, just because managing my time and figuring out, okay, like how much time do I need to do this? And how will I manage this? But it didn't take very long for me to just kind of get back into it, because at the end of the day, education is like similar everywhere. So it took maybe like a month or so for me to get back into, okay, like I have a class, so I'll do my readings the night before or the weekend before. And that really supplements, like when you're doing your summatives, you have all of that knowledge from before, rather than cramming it all together. So once I got into that routine, it was a lot easier. But it does take some time. If you're not going directly from undergrad to postgrad, it does take a little bit of time for you to adjust to it.
Especially depending on where you come from, different teaching styles and class setups.
So in fact, I would mention the education system is a bit different in the UK as compared to in Pakistan or in India, because teachers are very hands-on there. You get a lot more like face-to-face time with them. It does take a bit of adjustment to get used to this style. But then once you do, I think it actually really helps you in the way that, I have so much more time to myself to figure out when do I want to do this. And then I can take part in societies and go to networking events, and I can, manage my time very differently than I could have in my undergrad, just because of the way that it's different. But I would say it's definitely, it takes a bit of time, and then you're all good.
And you mentioned earlier that you chose the entrepreneurship program because you were interested in running your own company or being your own boss. Did you look at any other programs before you chose that program?
So I did. So because of my experience in digital marketing, I initially planned to just go back into corporate. And so I had applied to do marketing at Durham and at a couple of other universities as well. And then I decided to switch to entrepreneurship because, first of all, I think like having a little bit of generalist skill set can actually be really helpful if I do decide to go back into working. And I have seen that. Like, I think that a lot of the skills that I've gained from this program, I can use in a lot of different work environments, which is really great for me. So especially for someone like me who does like to go from one thing to the next, it's really great. Like, it's not something that's too specialized where I'll kind of be put into a corner.
So if you were thinking back to term one, what were you studying in term one?
There was organizational behavior, and then there were other core modules that we had, which were introduction to entrepreneurship and thinking entrepreneurially. And then this semester is when we get a little bit more leeway with what we want to do. So this was the semester that I was able to choose some of my modules. Business analytics was a core that I had, and new venture creation was another core that I had. But then you can choose from a whole bunch of different modules for the 2 electives that you do have. And so I chose project management, and I chose to do the study tour.
Talking about those modules, was there any that you particularly enjoyed or any that you found particularly challenging?
It's interesting. It's the same answer for both of them as business analytics, because I found it particularly like quite challenging, but I also enjoyed it a lot. And I think the reason for that is that it really challenged me in a way that the others didn't. I think because of my marketing background, I found it so interesting seeing different ways to analyze data. And I do think that that's something that you can really, really use in the work environment that we have now. So I think that's a very useful module to have.
Some of those other modules you mentioned, how have they helped you develop your understanding of innovation and entrepreneurship and leadership?
So new venture creation has actually been great for this. And I'm specifically going to mention that because the whole module, you pick a venture and then you you don't start with picking a venture. You start by learning a little bit of entrepreneurship theory, but towards the middle of it, you pick a venture. And then you actually get the opportunity to develop an entire venture from scratch. So you even do a little bit of preliminary market research. And then the summative actually is where you like fully formulate it. And then during the course, you look at the different ways, different ideas and different, like, for example, there's social entrepreneurship, which is what I did my summative on, which is a very different kind of entrepreneurship than if you go into like a very corporate kind of context or a small business venture. So it was really, really interesting to see, especially validating your hypothesis with market research.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely recommend that one.
And you also mentioned your other elective was the international study tour.
Yes.
Really interested to hear about that. If you wouldn't mind first just maybe explaining to any prospective audience members what the international study tour is, what it involves.
So the study tour was actually one of the reasons that I picked management, not management at Durham, I would say, is because it just seems so interesting. And I really like that the business school has so many opportunities for doing like international placements or not just the study tour. They have dissertation and broad options. They have summer school options. And the international study tour specifically, you get the option to go to either Stockholm, Barcelona, or Athens. And I think it does change from year to year, so don't
yes,
take my word for this.
It will change, but that's where this year's students went.
Yeah. So this is where this year's students went, and it was a really, really actually wonderful experience because I was actually a little bit cautious about it about my expectations when I was going into it, just because I have work experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wasn't sure what it was going to add on to my knowledge.
Yeah.
But I actually found it to be such a great experience because the Barcelona study tour specifically, it was in collaboration with the Saudi Business School. And so we had short seminars at the start, like of the day, every day, with different instructors from their entrepreneurship program. And it was really, really insightful. These were like CEOs of companies, and they had great, great insights to give us, after which we would go and we would tour different offices. So we got to see HP, we got to see Vinted, we got to see La Cabine, and a couple of others, Diamond Seeds, I believe. It was a really different, we saw a lot of different kinds of work environments. And that really stood out to me because we went from small businesses to like HP, which is thousands and thousands of workers, huge, huge offices.
And it's a 5-day.
It's a 5-day trip. And then you can, of course, extend it if you want to.
But it's a module that you were doing prior to the trip as well. So
Yes. So it starts in February, I believe. And then you have 4 or 5 classes. And you do have to like work on your presentation and submit your presentation before the study tour itself, which I think is a great thing because if you would be working on it there, it would be a nightmare. But so you go on the study tour and then you give a 30-minute presentation to your company that's been assigned to you. So for me, it was HP.
So you delivered a presentation to HP?
Yeah, so we're in a group, which makes it a little bit less intimidating. But it's a 30-minute presentation and you actually get coached on. So, one thing that I think we come to rely on is having like some notes or something. And what was really great actually about this experience was that the first thing that our instructor, Joan Riera, said is that you cannot have your phones or your notes with you. So we had to completely like learn our scripts like line by line. And I think that the presentation with which like the way that we presented in the end was so professional. Like it was actually, it made a huge impact. I think everybody like delivered a really, really stellar presentation. And the reason for that was the coaching that we had during the first couple of days. So it was a great experience from that perspective, being able to like present well, and then also just getting to see the different kinds of work environments. And then I was able to kind of actually hone down like what I would want to do in the future.
So earlier when you were also talking about the international opportunities that we offer here, you mentioned dissertation abroad, and I understand that that's something else that you've taken up.
That is, I'm actually going to be leaving on Saturday to do my dissertation in France, and so I haven't done it yet, so I can't really say how it's going to be. But I love that we have the opportunity to do things like that. And I've gotten a lot of support from the business school. So we have a team who manages all international opportunities, and they're hugely helpful. And so I reached out to them, I think like maybe in January.
Mm-hmm.
But I reached out and I said, I'm interested in this. So I was able to schedule a meeting with Jamie, and we spoke about, what my options were, even grant funding. You can get grant funding for like summer schools or dissertation opportunities. So there's a lot of help that you can get in this area. And then we have opportunities all over Europe. And I think in the US, I'm not 100% sure. But it's a really, really great way to kind of expand your network. And yeah, you get a lot of mentorship as well. So that's great.
Yeah, it's gonna, sounds like it would be a great opportunity. And yeah, all the best with it. A good way to enjoy the start of summer.
Thank you.
Finally, let's turn to lessons, looking at what you've learned from your experience and the insights you'd share with future postgrads. So we're coming towards the end of your degree here at Durham. Looking back over the last 9 months, what's something that you've learned about yourself during your time here?
I think one quality that really, really developed in me that I actually didn't expect was how confident I've become. And I think that's largely due to like the soft skills that you gain from a degree like management. Because first of all, you have to give a lot of presentations. That's a big one. But also, we have smaller classes actually than you would expect. Like, because especially in entrepreneurship, we have like maybe 15 or 16 students in some of our classes. So you get a lot of time to like have one-on-one chats with your professor. Mm-hmm. I think there's that thing that once you've done your readings prior to your class, you have a lot to talk about. So I think that's one skill that I'm leaving here with that I didn't expect to have. My confidence has grown immensely.
And just talking about the class, I wondered if there's any peer-to-peer learning going on with a lot of entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs together in one room.
There definitely is, especially, so I wouldn't say with the entrepreneurs as much, to be honest, because what we're focusing on is very varied. And so you can't really like necessarily help out someone who's doing something with AI, someone who's doing like opening up a restaurant, But for classes such as like organizational behavior, business analytics, where there are like 200 plus people in the class, those are classes where a lot of people, especially at Ustinov, will just kind of get together and we'll work in small groups so that we can help each other out wherever we can. And that's another thing I would really recommend to postgrads who are coming in. I would really recommend Ustinov for the reason that you kind of have a community just built in. Which is really, really helpful.
So speaking of those kind of connections and friendships, essentially then, how important has that been to your overall experience? Was it something you intended, that you thought was possible when you came here?
I think it has been hugely helpful. Just because Durham is a small town at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And so it is really difficult to be on your own here. You do need to have people around you, and you do need to have like some kind of a community, especially one that can help you through your academic life, because it does get hard, especially in the summative season, when all of your deadlines are in the span of a week. It does get quite hectic and quite stressful. Mm-hmm. So you do definitely need that community. But Durham does, I think, being a collegiate system, it does really help you build it. It works out.
Yeah. What's been one of the most rewarding parts of the overall experience?
So I would say for me, it would be the GCP, actually. Not the GCP specifically, but more my role in it is that I'm the editor of the college magazines.
The Ustinovian?
The Ustinovian, yes. Yeah, so I've published one magazine so far, and the second one is actually in the process right now. And it's been so fulfilling. So Ustinov is the most diverse community. It has like 90 plus nationalities. And it's really, really rewarding for me to see like the work of like students from completely different backgrounds talking about their life at Ustinov, the struggles that they have. So this issue actually really focuses on the negatives and the positives. It's a really interesting read. Like, I don't want to spoil it, but
will it be available online?
It will be available online soon, hopefully by the 20th of June. So keep your eyes peeled.
It's good you've been able to bring that marketing experience.
I have,
and use that outside of outside of the business school.
Yeah.
Talking specifically to students from South Asia now, what advice would you give to those students who are in that process now of preparing to pack up and potentially arrive here in a couple of months' time? Is there anything you think they should know, or anything you wish you'd known before you arrived?
Don't overpack. Because I do that. And then every time I just have crazy things that I could have just gotten from here. So don't do that. It's going to be hard to travel. So I would really recommend reaching out to your networks. And it doesn't matter if you don't know the person. It could be just someone who you've gone to school with or university with, because they will be able to offer you insights like budgeting, how to shop. Like there's small things that you wouldn't expect that would be like huge inconveniences later on in life. Most alumni are like very, very helpful. So I would really, really recommend getting that knowledge. And then also just listening to things like this. It makes a huge difference when you land here. Like I had watched a couple of webinars and I had engaged a little bit with whatever I could. And so I kind of knew what I was stepping into. And that made a really big difference when I landed here and I knew what to expect as compared to just completely being in the unknown. So a little bit of research goes a long way.
Speaking of just arriving, that was last September during the autumn. One of the big issues and concerns that some students have, not just from South Asia, from other parts of the world as well, is obviously the weather. Do you have any advice or can it ease any concerns about how the weather is in the UK?
I will say I complained about this a lot, and you probably will too, because it's just so unfair that the university starts just as the weather's getting worse. So you miss the 3 months of summer that we have, and then you get thrown right into autumn. And autumn is lovely in Durham, I will say. So the first couple of weeks I was like, okay, it's cold, but it's pretty. But then by I think like late November, it starts to get really cold, and January and February are by far the worst. So it does get tough, especially like being someone who's really I'm used to the heat, and I'm also used to being able to control the weather, like, turn on like a fan or an air conditioner or something. So even the heat over here gets a little bit too much for me. I will say that it does get better. And your mood will really improve. You will see the difference. No, but it is beautiful as well. Like even the snow is really pretty. I hadn't seen snow in a really long time before I came here. And so I got to enjoy that. So I think as long as you look at it with a little bit of gratitude, it's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 1-year degree, it goes quickly and you're going to experience all 4 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe a few times around.
Yeah.
As we're approaching graduation now, looking ahead, what are your plans for the future?
It's interesting. I had actually initially come here with the plan to immediately start my own business afterwards, but I do actually want to get some work experience in the UK first. So I am looking at graduate programs. Yeah, like I would also be interested in going into something, a position in the UK. So you get the opportunity to work in the UK for I think 1.5 years on your PSW.
Yeah, 18 months at the moment.
18 months, yeah. For that timeline, you kind of don't have to worry about sponsorship and stuff. And that's kind of what I'm looking at, maybe like working in the UK during that period. And then maybe after that, going and pursuing my business. I think that'll kind of help me just have like a little bit more knowledge about how things work in different environments.
Just finally, this season, we just wanted to wrap up with one word that would describe your experience at Durham.
Very wholesome.
That's a nice. Yeah. I think that's a lovely way to end. All the best with what's next. It sounds like you've equipped yourself with all the skills and made the most of all the opportunities here. So I think you will be in for a successful future. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and share.